The Ryen Russillo Show podcast.
It's the Ryen Russillo Show on ESPN Radio. Ryan's out this week. Will Kane sitting in for him throughout the week. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, and all guests on the Russillo Show appear on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. You can get in touch with us. You can get in touch with me through our 1AnnaFlowers.com Twitter feed. Here it is, at Will Kane, WILCAIN. We have a lot of things I want to talk to you about today. I mean, the list of things I was writing down that I want to sit in a room by myself and talk to you about today has no end. I want to talk to you about the fact that I think Jamal Adams is a modern-day gladiator and shouldn't have to apologize for it to anyone. I want to talk about the New England Patriot way and who embodies the perfect New England Patriot, and whether or not Rob Ninkovich's hair lives up to that billing. But first, I want to talk to you honestly about something that I think is the scariest thing in the world. At least for me it is. Okay, let me just paint the picture for you. It's 2003. It's the National League Championship Series, Game 6. The Chicago Cubs are down 3-0. And then this happens.
If I had a perfect place to die, I would die on the field.
Fly ball down the left field line, heading over near the wall in foul territory is Alou. He jumps and a fan took it away from him, and Alou is livid. The ball was clearly in the seats, so no interference on the fan is going to be ruled, but Moises Alou jumped and reached his glove into the seats and looked like he might catch that ball, but a fan reached up and took it right out of his glove.
That's the famous call from me on ESPN Radio from Dan Schulman. That, of course, is Steve Bartman. Not reaching into the field of play, but reaching in front of Moises Alou's outstretched glove as he leaps for the ball to make an out. Of course, everybody knows what happens from that point forward. If you don't, you can watch the amazing For 30 documentary, Catching Hell, on what becomes of Steve Bartman's life after that. Well, the Chicago Cubs have attempted to make some steps towards amends today. The Chicago Cubs are presenting Steve Bartman with a championship ring, a 2016 World Series championship ring that team earned last year. The club has said, while no gesture can fully lift the public burden that he has endured for more than a decade, we felt it was important for Steve and that he knows he has been and continues to fully be embraced by this organization. I got to tell you, for me, this is a Band-Aid on a cut throat. It's too little, too late, completely incapable of making up for what has happened to Steve Bartman's life. Now, let me just tell you why I believe this. Granted, we all have these things in our lives that are, whatever it is, our biggest fears, if given the choice, this is the way I don't want to die, right? So, Cerruti, for me, I mean, the thing I think I'm most afraid of in life is a mob. What's your biggest fear, Cerruti?
It's a good question.
No, heights,
it's
drowning.
Not heights. You know what? I don't have any fears, Will.
Get out of here. You're just on the spot, right?
I have no idea, yeah.
You know your greatest fear, Smallman?
I'm afraid of almost everything. I watch way too much Dateline, so.
There's not one, though, that sticks out. Kat, greatest fear?
Heights.
Heights?
Definitely heights, yeah. I can't even get on a step ladder without just start shaking, and I have to get off of it.
I'm not making this up. Mine is the mob. Like, when you see that documentary, Catching Hell, and you see a sea of people in those outfield stands turn and literally start looking and then yelling and then jeering at Steve Bartman, and then the security and police have to come and escort this man out of the stadium, that embodies everything I am absolutely terrified of. And I don't know why. I don't know why this is my greatest fear. I think has probably something to do with powerlessness, like, I don't know, a large gathering of mindlessness armed with either literal or metaphorical pitchforks who cannot be swayed, cannot be reasoned with, cannot be persuaded, absolutely moving towards some often violent end. I mean, they made a movie about it essentially in 12 Angry Men. It's like, what happens when, like, the room is convinced of one way, and that one way is so clearly wrong? I don't know, man. That is like, That, to me, rings every bit of power. And maybe it's because I put so much weight in, like, debate and persuasion and these things that I really, really do enjoy and put value on, and that just wrings all of it out of it. Just reduces everything to, like, guttural, instinctual, groupthink, and movement. That's what happened to Steve Bartman. And it is absolutely and utterly terrifying to me. And it's not theoretical with this guy. Look what happened to his life. I don't know how he ever makes amends. By the way, this was Frank Isola last night on PTI. He said the same thing. Like, this is never over for Steve Bartman.
Classy move by the Cubs, classier move by Bartman to accept this because
Great move by Tom Ricketts, the owner. This has his
and you were in the video. I mean, you were in the 30 for 30.
I was.
Okay? The Cub fans did not come across well in that. That's people taking it way too seriously.
It was like 8 years ago. It was
his life that everyone was threatening. This guy had to basically go, he had to disappear.
Yes, he did.
A ring does that. A ring means everything's okay.
But everybody always said, and I believe this, God, let them win so this will be over.
Yeah.
They won.
They threatened to beat the guy up that
was
night.
years ago.
If he shows up in Wrigley right now,
I'm going to give him my seat.
That's you.
Everybody's going to give him a seat. It's over, Frank. It's over.
I don't believe it is.
It's long over.
I don't think he believes it is. He's telling people in his statement. He's telling people in the statement, by the way, please leave me alone.
People aren't going to bother him. They're going to stand and cheer him.
I don't think so, Wilbon. I mean, over for who? Over for Cubs fans? Over for the Cubs organization? They're done feeling guilty? Who is it over for? Because I'll guarantee you this. It's not over for Steve Bartman. How old was Steve Bartman when that happened in 03, I wonder? When he walked into that stadium in 2003, he was a markedly different human being than the one that walked out later that night. And it never stopped for him. The change, the influences, the feeling of having everyone in the world, or at least in some world you very, very much cared about. The guy's a Cubs fan. He was a diehard Cubs fan who lived in the Chicago area. His entire world turned against him. He was 26 when that happened. I think the guy he was at 26 is the same guy he's saying. You can say that about anybody, right? But if you could pinpoint one incident in his life and say, yep, that's when everything changed, you think that's it. For Bartman, I'm sure there's been other things in his life just as important. But I mean, I guess, and I'm probably personalizing this entirely too much. I think it does explain, why I have taken some positions that I know that I will end up being in the minority on, that I know will end up being somewhat unpopular, be it on Greg Hardy or Ray Rice or Zeke Elliott. But the accusations of the mob is just terrifying to me. There's nothing you can do. You just can't hold your hand. Whoa, guys, whoa! Just give me a sec to explain. Can I just explain for 1 second? There's no opportunity for that. That's over. It doesn't even matter if Steve Bartman was right or wrong. Didn't deserve it. Cubs lost that game to 8-3. They lost it for a lot of reasons. They went on to lose Game 7, and that's not because of Steve Bartman. And I understand that, by the way. I'm a Texas Rangers fan. I know what it is to be one strike away twice in Game 6. I understand what it means to look back at one particular play when Nelson Cruz can't make a catch in the outfield. I understand how that changes everything going forward. And a team can't rebound in Game 7, and they're emotionally crushed. But the point is this, there are many opportunities for a team to rebound. If you really, really think about it, that's the point. That is intestinal fortitude. That's what being mentally tough is. It's not one moment. Steve Bartman was classy. He said this, although I do not consider myself worthy of such an honor, I am deeply moved and sincerely grateful to receive an official Chicago Cubs 2016 World Series championship ring. I'm fully aware of the historical significance and appreciate the symbolism this ring represents on multiple levels. And he went on to ask the media to honor his privacy. He still wants to stay out of this. He does not want the attention. And to me, he's a lesson for all of us on this is us at some of our worst. I'm not even going to indict Cubs fans because times move on, people have regrets, people make mistakes. But God forbid it's ever you in that seat. God forbid it's you that the mob turns against. God forbid it's you that 12 angry men can't be convinced to slow down and take a look at the evidence on. God forbid it's you that gets accused. That's when you develop empathy. And Steve Bartman is my greatest fear. I think Jamal Adams was incredibly honest yesterday when he said that he would be happy to die on a football field. I don't think he was just honest. This is what we want of football players. So why are we now turning around the next day and saying he was at very least insensitive and at worst stupid? He wasn't. He did exactly what we would ask our football players to do. He has exactly the mindset that we would ask of our football players.
The Ryen Russillo Show. Russillo.
The Ryen Russillo Show on ESPN Radio, presented by Progressive Insurance. Will Kane sitting in for Ryan today. Here's some of the feedback I'm getting on the WayNardFlowers.com Twitter feed. Listen to this. This is Cole Nixon. He thinks it's a little tacky to give Bartman a ring. It's as if they're saying, oh, we won, guess we can forgive you now. Is it tacky? You think it's tacky? I just think it's not enough. I'm not going to criticize them for doing it. I mean, something. It's just you can't repair it. I mean, this Humpty Dumpty can't be put back together again. You can't give this guy his life, his identity back. Tom Williams, bravo on your take on the mob mentality. I agree with you 100%. You most often get on my nerves, but you're not stupid. Thanks, Tom. And here's Hutch. We finally agree on something regarding Bartman. It's never over for that poor guy. I'm glad we finally agree, even if I get on you guys' nerves. It's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. All right, so this is a controversy. Jamal Adams says that he can think of no better place to die than on a football field. And this is a problem? This is somehow tacky or inconsiderate? Not appreciating the full sensitivity of the NFL's problem with CTE? I don't see it's any of those things.
If I had a perfect place to die, I would die on the field. I would be at peace. Literally. I would be at peace. And that's not a lie. Like, it's so much sacrifice that we go through as a team, and just connecting as one and winning ball games. It's nothing like playing the game of football. But again, I'm all about making the game safer. That's all I can say about it.
I mean, I don't know that it's the perfect place to die. It's not my perfect place to die. Cerruti, what's your perfect place to die?
Probably at a Roma football match.
In the past 5 minutes, you've told me that some of your favorite TV shows are Peaky Blinders, Sherlock, and that you'd like to die at a Roma football match.
Yeah, you think I'm too Euro.
I think you're trying Euro.
No.
I think it could be hard. Try hard Euro.
Well, I mean,
my favorite shows are on BBC,
game.
And I like Roma a lot, so much that I want to die there.
It wouldn't be an NFL game. I'll say that.
Perfect place to die, Smallman.
I wouldn't mind dying in Italy with like a big jug of wine next to me.
At what age?
Super old.
Super old?
Yeah, like 105.
That's another question, by the way. These NFL players, so Jamal Adams gives his life to doing something very, very dangerous, which he will be very, very handsomely rewarded for. He will be compensated at a very high level. Is it crazy to say, hey, was there another NFL player that said this? I'd trade 10 years of my life. I'd trade 10 years at the end of my life for the glory and career that I had in football in my 20s and 30s. You might be able to say that's short-sighted, but come on. We all make these bargains all the time. If I asked you right now, okay, Kat, I see you looking at me. How much money do I need to give you to give me the last 5 years of your life?
$50 million.
$50 million for 5 years?
Yeah, why not? Go as high as I can.
How about $1 million for 1 year?
No.
I mean, now we're just negotiating, right?
Yeah.
50's high. You price those, you're valuing those last 5 years. I mean, I think we all make these bargains from all the time. I think that most, there's a number. Here's the point. There's a number. Yours is high, Kat. I'm not sure mine's even that high. But there's a number for almost everyone. We make these bargains like, I'd trade the last 5 years for X amount of dollars. I'd trade forget it. If you don't think 5 is significant, how about this? How much would you trade the last hour of your life for? How about that, Kat?
$1 million.
$1 million for an hour? This is like bargaining with the devil, right? This is like me. This is me fully inhabiting my full persona here. Now I am the devil buying years off your life. There is a number and there is a time that you would bargain for. And then yet we turn around to NFL players like Jamal Adams and go, how short-sighted, how ridiculous that he would play NFL and not be sympathetic to the potential long-term problems that occur with this. And he's not giving full sensitivity to the people that actually have experienced some of the repercussions for playing football. And I know there are guys. I know there are people that regret it. Not everyone is going to be able to say what Jamal Adams said. Many, many players, I would imagine, some 30, 40 years removed from their NFL career could look back on it and go, wasn't worth it. Wasn't worth it. But not all of them. And this is the spirit we ask of people. The truth of the matter is, Jamal Adams isn't really talking about down on the football field. He's talking about giving it his all. He's embodying the gladiator spirit that we want from these guys. He's literally saying, or metaphorically saying, I'd lay my life out on the line to win on the football field. Isn't that what we want? What are we asking for? Less violence, more politically correct football, more sensitive football? Yeah, everybody's in on that. By the way, Roger Goodell's sitting next to him the entire time. Roger Goodell's face on the side of the camera, looking at Jamal Adams as he's saying, perfect place to die on the football field. I would love to know the thoughts going through Goodell's mind right as that's being said. 888-729-3776. I mean, do you have a legit criticism of Jamal Adams for what he had to say the other day? I mean, forget criticism. This is what we ask of players. And by the way, there's not even any criticism for the people clapping along. They're just echoing the emotional investment that he is giving them in metaphorical terms about his commitment to football, an inherently violent sport, the way we want it. All right, welcome back to the Ryen Russillo Show. Will Kane sitting in for Ryan all this week. And now I'm joined by the SNL Weekend Update guys, Colin Jost and Michael Che. This SNL Weekend Update specials air Thursdays, August 10th, 17th, and 24th at 9 Eastern. Guys, so, Colin, you have been on Weekend Update, I believe, since 2014, right?
I think that's right. Which seems like not that long ago, but then it's suddenly a long time ago. Or kind of a long time ago. This is like our fourth year together?
Yeah, man, you're old as hell.
Come on, man.
Look like crap.
That is not true.
But
now, Michael, you're
if
a nice
they're only listening now. They're not going to know.
Well, let me help him out with it. Michael, you're a nice-looking guy, so I don't want you to take any offense when I move to this.
Sure.
But Colin, you're entirely too good-looking to be a comedian. Like, this has seriously had to be something you've had to overcome, right?
It's weird that actually does hurt my feelings.
I'm not. My appearance is not in any way, is no way coming up in my life helped me at all. I was a chubby kid. I was not, no time did I ever have, like, attention from girls, attention from anyone that would want to put me in anything. It was completely, I grew up completely independent of anything.
Except for now.
I'm barely, come on, I'm just trying to keep it together here.
Barely a 9.5.
Barely a 9.5. If you look around the comedian world, though, I'm serious. This is like, comedians, don't they operate from a place largely of insecurity? I interviewed Jim.
I've got plenty of, I'm a constant ball of anxiety, and I really try to hide it all the time. But I'm constantly worried and anxious. But I'm Catholic, so I bury it inside. And it'll just come out on my deathbed when I grab my eldest child and tell them, please don't become what I've become.
Oh, man, that could have went a different way. I could have went a different Catholic way.
I like to wait for the end, so you don't know what it's like. A great
easy,
O. Henry twist at the end.
It's tension you release right there.
The phone boards are lighting up.
But you've been writing for SNL since the early 2000s, right?
2005, yeah.
So is now, this would be my guess, is now the easiest time you've had in your entire SNL career?
No, it's still hard week to week, but it's the least. This was the least stressful year I've had in the last, like, at least 5 years, maybe 6 years, because there was a period of time where I was doing, like, where I was head writer and starting on Update and trying to figure that out, and, like, doing a movie, and it was a really, really hard year, and I almost thought, like, it was all gonna break apart and fail, and then now we have a lot of fun doing our job, even though it's still very stressful and hard. And this last year was actually the most fun I've had on my job in probably at least 5 years.
I would think, Michael, that this isn't political. Like, this isn't left, right. But in the past year, the election and the Trump administration has got to have provided the most material you've had in your entire career to come up with bits and skits and lines and weekend updates.
Yeah, you would think. But I don't know that that's necessarily true, because a lot of times with comedy, comedy is best when it's a surprise. And a lot of times, it kind of writes itself in a lot of ways. So it becomes a little bit harder to say something that, after a week's worth of news that hasn't been already covered or that everybody else isn't talking about. You kind of want to start, kind of talking about things that you find interesting as opposed to the things you kind of have to cover again and again and again. It ends up going to the same, especially when it goes to the same destination.
I heard you this morning on Mike and Mike talk about failed pitches. I thought yours was genius, Michael.
I didn't know who you're gonna say. It seemed like they both killed.
This is back to the look thing. I didn't mean to insult you. I liked your pitch as well, Colin.
Of course.
Yeah. But Michael's was out. I thought you knocked it out of the park. Tell me what that pitch was again.
My pitch was a sketch about the first white guy to boo Jackie Robinson for a baseball play. I don't think that guy gets enough credit because it was
he was colorblind.
He was colorblind, and then the other people were booing him still. They're like, no, but come on, he dropped that. It was a double play.
And why didn't that one fly?
I don't know.
Jackie Robinson's estate sued the show.
Yeah, I don't know. People hate money.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That joke, that bit has layers that are smart, not just funny. Like, at what point does Jackie Robinson get? I didn't mean that as that wasn't like a surprising note.
No. I meant it like I'm impressed for him.
Yeah, but what point does Jackie Robinson get to be viewed strictly through the prism of baseball? And the answer is probably never.
Never. But I mean, you got to think that there had to be like once where it was like, oh, come on.
But then there were also a lot that weren't because of baseball, and then he was like, oh no, it was for the baseball part.
Yeah, sure.
It was for baseball stuff or something.
I booed Jackie Robinson, but it was only for the baseball. It was only for this one play.
Yeah, it had to be somebody.
Did you have other sports ones that you've done through the years? Did you have any other sports pitches?
Any other sports pitch? I'd have to think about it. Why, did you?
I had Lance Armstrong hosted. I pitched him an idea where he would do like a public service announcement that those yellow Livestrong bracelets actually caused wrist cancer.
How did he go with it? Did he like it?
He said, dude, there's no way I'm ever doing that to me. He's like, that's like my life. And I was like, oh, okay.
He just did Andy Samberg's, mockumentary about.
Oh, he did of the racing.
He did. Yeah,
he's in it. Florida Pharmacy, right? What was it? Yeah,
Florida Pharmacy. I think it was. Which
I'm
is
so excited. To see
kind of gutsy of him to do that.
He's making fun of himself. He's talking about being.
He's making fun of himself, but he pissed a lot of people off, didn't he? Can you say that word?
No.
Oh.
You can say pissed on a lot of people.
No, I know that because about 10 minutes ago it got bleeped out.
Is that true? Yeah. Oh, so we got it twice now. All right, good. Glad I doubled down.
Yeah, Lance laughed at himself. He did a whole recreation of the Oprah interview where he's like, "Are we sure that I'm completely shadowed out?"
Well, it's good that he can laugh about it.
I don't. But the thing is, it's like some of the baseball players were. I don't care at all. Like they were still the ones who were great are still clearly. Like, if people have issues with Barry Bonds, he's so much better. He was so much better before anything than anyone else. That I don't care at all.
Okay.
It doesn't bother. I'm like, this guy is clearly a great baseball player, and everyone else was doing. All these mediocre guys were getting just to, a pretty good level, and he was even better than them. It's like, what is he supposed to lose ground to these mediocre players and not do it?
You think he was following mediocre players, or he was leading them down
I think it was the culture, and the same with Lance Armstrong. If everyone's doping, are you going to be like, well, I didn't win ever, but I did it the right way? You're like, no, I'm going to do it. If all your entire team is doing it, and your doctors are like, it's fine, this is fine, you're like, okay, all right. And then only later you look back, and you're like, oh, that wasn't what I was supposed to do.
So in your mind, it doesn't tarnish his legacy whatsoever.
I don't think so. He was the best. All those other guys were also doping, and they couldn't beat him. It's like, what does that say about them? They cheated and lost.
Don't let anybody come on here, tweet, call, tell me I'm full of the hot takes.
Wow.
Colin Jost in 5
minutes. I'm just saying, give him credit where credit's due.
Okay.
I remember reading the Barry Bonds thing about how that the elbow thing he wore was actually more helpful than steroids. It was like the physics of that letting him just.
Can somebody get into that? The baseball.
It was about how it just grooved his swing, so it just perfectly he could it actually gained gave him mass. So that it was getting more impact on the ball, and that actually probably contributed more to his home run total than steroids.
You say you read that on Breitbart Sports, right?
On ColinJost.com.
You wrote it? Yeah, that's awesome.
I read it and wrote it at ColinJost.com for all your sports analysis.
Speaking of politics, when you guys walked in here,
your transitions are seamless.
Speaking of seamless, I'm hungry.
That's big. Seamless is a big part of my life.
It is mine too. I don't have a family.
When you guys walked in, you started talking about the South Carolina Gamecocks helmets up there. Have you been to South Carolina? Have you played that city, that state? Michael said he'd been to a college in South Carolina. How hard is comedy to do you think, today, considering, look, Chris Rock, Jerry Seinfeld, I feel like I've heard it from numerous comedians, and I've actually seen guys fail at this already on the political correctness front, on the I am offended front. It seems to me, in my opinion, to be one of the major currencies going, whether or not you're talking about politics or sports or comedy. I'm offended is an ace in the hole for anyone. How hard does it make it to write comedy?
Not.
Why?
Because what happens when someone's offended? They're offended. Fine. You know, sometimes I'll buy a sandwich and it's not as good as I thought it'd be.
Yeah.
And then that's it. I just had a bad sandwich. That's it. Like, I mean, I don't know what this weird culture that we've embraced of the idea of being offended, where it's like, yeah, okay, you're offended.
What do you want?
So
what do you get from it?
And what?
Yeah, but the and what right now seems to be, okay, you can't come to our college campus, or we'll protest you, or you'll get booed, or whatever it may be.
If someone's offended by us, they're not a reasonable person. Like, we're offended. The people we offend, I mean, we're offending ideally people on both sides. And I think if we go around the country and we do shows, like when we go do stand-up, we have people that are conservative and people who are liberal who are in the audiences. And ideally, they're all reasonable people who can see either the flaws or what's funny about both sides.
You know, like, it feels like we ever watch, like, the daytime TV and a commercial comes on and it's like, have you tripped and fall at the workplace? Well, you could be. That's how I feel about people who are offended by stuff. Like, has someone said the N-word in your general vicinity? Then you could entitled to tweet at them.
By that. Come on.
No, I usually, I say the N-word so much that you certainly dump again. All right. No, come on. You can't be offended by it as much as hang around me.
I love the point of view. I wish you luck with that. I hope it always works out.
Thanks
I hope
so much.
we move in that direction.
He says it a bunch, too.
Yeah, hey, come on. We'll bleep that out as well.
All right, you guys in here, we just hit the dump button because Colin said the N-word 3 times.
Fact.
And it wasn't no.
SNL's Weekend Update specials air Thursdays, August 10th, 17th, and 24th at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can get Colin on Twitter at Colin Jost. You can get Michael on Instagram at Che Thinks.
Or Seamless.
Or you can get real delivery food. Maybe
you can find Che on Seamless at, what was your home address again?
You can find me on Uber
give us that
X.
address. What was that?
Just Uber X, man. I'm cruising around and I'll pick you up if
Literally,
you need to go
you got
somewhere.
a Chevy Cruze.
Yeah, I got a PT Cruiser.
The Ryen Russillo Show. Russillo.
All right, I want to ask you a question. I'll ask you, Cerruti. I'll ask you, sitting in your car or at your desk at work. If you're making bets right now on the next NBA super team, who will it be? Which team will you put money on is the next? How many super teams are there right now? 2? Golden State Warriors, Cleveland Cavaliers?
There's might just be one. I mean, depending on where he ends up.
Do the Rockets count as a super team now?
No.
Come on.
I think maybe 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, yeah, but not now.
With Paul and Harden? Like, what? By the way, okay, what's a super team? Like when you start amassing superstars together on the same roster to attain some level of relevancy and shot at the title?
I think it used to be that, but I think the Warriors are blowing that out of the water. They have 4 stars.
So a super team...
There could really only be one of those, right? Theoretically.
A team with 4 stars?
No, there can really only be one super team, right?
I think the idea of the super team is when a team is capable of cobbling together multiple superstars on the same roster. And as a byproduct of that, they're in the title hunt. I mean, that's what we don't know about the Rockets. They got Paul, they got Harden. No one else qualifies as a superstar. So that might not be enough to be a super team. But Tom Haberstroh has a piece up on ESPN.com right now about who has the best odds to be the next NBA super team. And he offers up 3 models. 3 models on how you can create a super team. One model is the 2011 Heat. Now, this model suggests you accomplish super team status through free agency. That's the team that brought Bosh and James to join Wade in Miami. Now, he says The most likely team to achieve Superteam status through that model is the Los Angeles Lakers. They'll have $70 million in cap room to add to Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram. That's pretty much it, because the assumption is Julius Randle won't be around to see this super team. That's Model 1, okay, Cerruti? You pick which one you like the best. Model 2, by the way, is the 2008 Boston Celtics, which is to cobble a super team together through trades. That's the team that brought in Kevin Garnett to add to Paul Pierce. And the model for that, they suggest, will be the modern-day Boston Celtics, who have assets that they can trade in the form of picks. They have 2 first-round picks in 2018. They have 2 picks in 2019. They have young guys in Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. Jay Crowder's a tradable commodity. That can all be used to add up to a super team through trades. And then finally, the third model is through the draft. This is the Warriors' path. Draft all of these guys. In order to do this, you got to be hitting on guys down in the draft. Second round, 19th pick, in the teens or 20s. And the most likely team to follow that path, the Denver Nuggets, where they got Nikola Jokic. What did he come? Second round. That's amazing. Second round. Whenever I see a team that gets somebody like that in the second round, I am so jealous.
Draymond Green.
Like, as a Dallas Mavericks fan, you start, you got to hit on your number 9 pick. You got to hit on your number 5 pick. You make that leap when you hit on that second round pick. That guy down in the draft, like they also did with Gary Harris Jr., the 19th pick, to add to Jamal Murray and signing Paul Millsap in the offseason. Okay, so which one is your most likely? By the way, these aren't the only teams that can follow these paths. There are other teams. But to you, Cerruti, who's the next super team?
Are you asking me which team or which method is the most likely?
Those go one.
I don't think they do,
Oh,
actually.
Explain.
I think the most likely is the Lakers, because they're the Lakers. They are a marquee franchise, and everybody wants to play for them theoretically, right? And now that Magic Johnson's there, it's like this whole thing. It's let's go meet in LA and do this thing, because most of those guys live there anyway. But I think the easiest way to do it in a vacuum is the way that the Warriors did it. But I don't think that the Nuggets are necessarily that team.
Oh, I totally disagree. I think that's the hardest path.
I disagree. There are only the reason I say that the Lakers way, or I should say the 11 Heat way and the Lakers way in this example is the hardest way, is because there are only a certain amount of teams in the league that could actually do that. You're not convincing 3 superstars to go to Minnesota out of the middle of nowhere. Like, they have to be marquee destination free agency places. And that limits the league. There's maybe only 5 spots that could happen.
Okay, so here's where we agree and where we disagree. I agree the most likely next super team, the most likely team to achieve super team status will be the Los Angeles Lakers. They already have Lonzo, who I think Lonzo Ball is going to be a phenomenal player. I think he's going to be the kind of player that other superstars want to play with. I think he makes everyone around him better. I think he's incredibly smart at the game, and it will not surprise me at all. Why would it, by the way? Everybody's saying this. People in the know, like Jalen Rose saying this. LeBron wants to go to L.A. So LeBron, Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, and X number added free agent superstar, because it's $70 million potentially in cap space. That's LeBron and somebody else.
Paul George, Russell Westbrook.
Russell Westbrook and Lonzo on the same team. That's kind of fascinating. Westbrook playing the 2. Yeah. That's the most likely. The other teams mentioned, by the way, to go the free agent route would be the Spurs and the Bulls. It's harder for the Spurs. I don't see how they carve out enough cap space. On the trade, this is the one, on the trade route, this is the only other one that gives me real pause. It's the 76ers. I see you already smiling. Look at this. Markelle Fultz, Ben Simmons, Dario Saric, Joel Embiid, Robert Covington, and $48 million in cap room. It's pretty nice. Pretty nice.
I think that they're almost more in the mold of the Warriors, though. They're the team that got drafted this way. Now, Ryan believes that if he was the Sixers, he would have tried to trade Joel Embiid already.
Well, wow, trade Embiid. Why, injury risk?
Yeah, and he had 35 really, really good games, and he couldn't stay healthy early in his career. He couldn't stay healthy in his quote-unquote rookie year, and he was saying that you should probably cash in on that now because you have no idea what he's going to be.
I assume Haberstroh has the 76ers listed under the Celtics model, the achieve Superteam status through trade, because these guys aren't going to stay together. Because the 76ers have got to turn some of these young, unproven, and that's really can't be said enough with the 76ers, unproven assets into more proven superstars. I mean, that is the ultimate, legit rebuttal to the Sixers. Can we maybe just see a game or two, maybe a dozen, maybe 20 with these guys together?
Trust the process.
I do trust the process.
So do I.
Makes me mad what's happened to Sam Hinkie. Guy should be in the NBA right now. Look what he did. But to me, and this is where I think you're wrong, the least likely path is the Warriors' path, because whether or not it's the Nuggets or the Bucks, teams that have drafted well so far, it requires you to essentially strike gold so many times, 2, 3, 4 times, finding guys down in the teens and 20s and second round of the draft. That's the hardest. I mean, we would just have more examples than the Warriors of teams that have been able to pull it off.
Well, the Thunder drafted Harden, Westbrook, and Durant all in consecutive years.
Where were they drafting on all those guys?
Like what order in the lottery?
Yeah, those were top 10 picks.
Right? Westbrook was 4, Harden was 3, and Durant was 2.
Yeah, that's the exception is being able to, 76ers did this, pick that high every year and hit on it. The Warriors were hitting down in the teens and 20s, the way the Nuggets have. I just think that's an incredibly hard path.
But all 30 teams have the opportunity to do that. Not all 30 teams have the opportunity to sign 3 free agents like the Lakers want to or like the Heat did. And there's also one team we're not mentioning here that wasn't on this list at all, and that's the T-Wolves.
That's trades.
That's a little bit of everything.
That's
drafting, that's trading. It's
Wiggins,
actually 2 trades.
Butler, trades. Towns, drafting. I think everybody's a little early on the Wolves as well. Little early on that.
Okay, keep your eyes closed.
Okay.
I want to show you my first ever painting.
All right.
Okay. Open your eyes.
Oh, that's a lot of colors and shades.
So be honest. What do you think?
Well, I like how if you switch to Geico, you could save hundreds of dollars on car insurance.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Here, why don't I hold your paintbrush while you call them?
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Will Kane sitting in for Ryan this week. You can tweet the show at Russillo Show on the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. Nothing makes a summer birthday or anniversary more magical than 1-800-Flowers.com. Right now, when you order a dozen multicolored roses for only $29.99, you'll get another dozen absolutely free. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. Just discussing what's the most likely path. What team is the most likely to make the leap into NBA super team status? And Rudy and I both agree that it's the Lakers. That's got to be the next team to make the leap into superstar status. Javier in the Bronx. You're on the Ryen Russillo Show with Will Kane. What's up, Javier? Who's going to make the leap?
Well, you guys are probably on to the right team with the Lakers, but the reason I'm calling it is I'm a little disappointed in that how you're a pretty sharp guy. I've seen you on First Take. You tend to make really good points. But none of the other sports analysts are talking about how the super team is actually maybe cheapening the NBA championship.
Wait. So you're disappointed I'm saying what? What are you disappointed in?
I'm disappointed that no one's covering that angle as to how the super team is actually cheapening the NBA championship. It's making it almost like a meaningless thing.
Javier, where you been? Everybody's talking about that.
Let me just say one.
Everyone's talking about that, man.
Nah, but you guys, I don't know. It's like you're not giving it the appropriate spin because at the end of the day, no one's mentioned the fact that Kevin Durant just won a championship. He didn't even cry. He displayed almost no emotion when he did win that championship.
You need tears?
I need tears. I definitely need tears because it shows me you care about making that accomplishment.
You think it was too easy for him?
And that's exactly why he didn't cry. It was way too easy. He knows deep down it wasn't earned.
Okay, so I just want to sum up your call here. Will you stick with me here? I want to make sure I got everything down. So point number 1, nobody's talking about these super teams and them killing the NBA. Point number 2, I give you as evidence, Kevin Durant seems to have chosen a really easy path to an NBA championship. And point number 3, the evidence is he didn't cry. Is that fair? Summation of what you had to say?
Pretty much. And I know, that wasn't the topics per se. But,
No, that's not, Javier, that's not what I'm coming at you about. What I'm coming at you about is you've got to be kidding me, man, on point number 1 and 2. You haven't been able to avoid sports media where they're not talking about the fact that super teams are hurting the NBA and Kevin Durant took a shortcut to an NBA title. You couldn't go 2 days. You couldn't go 15 minutes on sports radio without hearing those things. Now, you wanting tears.
You are right about that, but I mean, like, the emotion. No one's talking about that lack of emotion. Like, think about it like this. When LeBron won with Miami, he didn't display that emotion because he knew even then that it wasn't earned. But when he won it with Cleveland, the man falls to his knees. He's in tears because it was earned, and it was a tougher road.
What about that whole thing? Like, maybe Durant was being tough. Maybe he's like a tough guy. Maybe he's like, he's not
far from a tough guy. We all know that.
All right, Javier, I appreciate the call, man. Thanks. I don't know. I don't think that his lack of tears. I hear you on 1. I hear you on 2. I can't hear you on 3. By the way, on number 1, the answer to super teams is more super teams. The problem with having a super team or 2 in the NBA is that it becomes predictable. So what's the answer to that? It's more super teams. It's 4, 5 super teams. It's what's happened in Houston. By the way, what I'm talking about is them signing Chris Paul to add to James Harden. By the way, speaking of Houston, so you see this Daryl Morey does not like, awards, NBA awards. He says this. I don't know if this is a good process, talking about how they select MVPs. He told this to SI.com's The Crossover. I honestly don't think there's a good process. You could argue for eliminating the awards altogether. This is Daryl Morey speaking. I don't really see a good way to do it that doesn't have major issues. I like clean answers. If there's not going to be a set criteria and there's going to be issues with how it's structured, for me, it might be better not to have it at all. Now, what Daryl Morey really is pointing out is he's mad that James Harden didn't win in 2015 and he didn't win in 2016. And he was given different reasons each year for why that is. He was bodied up by Blake Griffin last night on Twitter. Blake Griffin went at Daryl Morey. He tweeted this. Honestly, we should just do away with championships too. Seems dumb to me. Participation trophies for everybody. Don't at me. Blake. He's got his fat new contract, right, in L.A.? Guess we can strike. He doesn't see the need to go to Houston anymore. I don't need to keep this team on my list of. Blake's gone, though. Wrong, though, man. He's wrong. Morey's not advocating for participation trophies. What he's saying is your criteria is bunk. One year you told me the reason Steph beat James Harden in the MVP race is because he had more wins. The next year you tell me the wins don't matter when you vote for Russell Westbrook over James Harden. He's like, I don't understand. How do I win? You're giving me different reasons every year.
But isn't that the same thing as like the college football playoff? And it's better that way. There shouldn't be a set criteria. You should just know it when you see it. And you knew that Steph Curry, that year he won over James Harden, was the MVP, and it made more sense because the wins was a tiebreaker. The Warriors had way more wins than the Rockets. They were a way better team. Last year, Russell Westbrook did something that hasn't been done since Oscar Robertson did it in 30-some-odd years. I'm sorry. Someone's going to have to lose in the MVP conversation. It doesn't have to be written out as hey, if you get to 50 wins or you get to 60 wins, you automatically get the MVP. That's ridiculous.
He likes clean answers, Cerruti.
But that's not realistic.
He likes clean answers.
You think that there should be some sort of criteria for the MVP?
No.
You should check off the most boxes.
I don't like your answer. It's just like, you know it when you see it. I feel it. It's subjective. Don't at me, bro. I know what I see. But I also know you're right. Yes, there's not a formula you can plug in and say this one spits out the MVP. Wins plus points per game plus triple doubles equals MVP. Like you can't. Oh, let's not forget PER and some advanced metrics as well. No, there's not a formula. Yes, I agree. But I also get his frustration a little bit. I mean, the God's honest truth is James Harden shouldn't have won the MVP either year. Right?
Couldn't agree more. He's a great offensive player.
But he's not advocating for participation trophies. Morey's not advocating, right? Like, we can also come at Blake Griffin here and say, Blake, I'd be so mad if I was Morey. What are you talking about, twisting my words like that? I'm never signing that guy.
The Ryen Russillo Show.
I'm joined in studio with the recently retired New England Patriots linebacker, Rob Ninkovich, who, by the way, just now, what were you doing? You're just checking yourself out in the return camera over there?
Yeah, I look decent right now.
What were you worried about?
Just the back. Because when I look down, if I keep going, I see a little, like, flesh-colored yarmulke. I don't want that thing to just fully come out. I'm a little scared. So I'll have to, one day, eventually, the front looks good. I'm tall. Nobody can tell. But if I sit down and someone's above me, they're like, hey, Rob, you're getting a little thin up there.
So you think about it when you take a seat?
No, not really. I mean, there's a reason why for the last 10 years I never take my helmet off. I leave it like right here so you can just see my face and this, and then that's it.
I asked you a minute ago, if given the choice between, as you said, the island in the back or the peninsula of hair up front.
The power alleys.
Yes, which do you choose? Which do you choose to be afflicted by?
The back. I'll take it. It's happening, so I can deal with it. Dr. Robert Leonard, my guy in Boston, though, if I ever need anything, one day he's going to help me out. So we've had discussions. I've done stuff in the past with him. He's a great guy. He's worked with Welker.
You're talking about reseeding. You're talking about planting the field.
Yeah. I mean, if you're in the farming industry and you plant a seed and it doesn't grow, you're going to replant. You're going to try and get it back. You need the crop. You know what I'm saying?
I like the honesty. You're going to fight this every step of the way.
Well, my dad didn't fight anything, and he's just gone. The whole thing, like shiny cue ball. I have the head shaped like an alien. So, like, if you see any like alien movies, they're never just a nice smooth head. They have like a weird bone or like a weird shape. It's just weird. I found that out at a young age, and I never have had a shaved head since. So it's traumatic.
All right, now that we got the hair and skull shape worked out, I want to ask you a few football things. First of all, I want you to listen to something. I want you to listen to this from your press conference.
All right, Matty P, my guy. So me and Matty P have a great relationship. All my teammates in here know that he gets the best out of me, and that's from the first day we met. He knows what to say to piss me off, to get me angry, to play my best football. And thank you for that. I'm indebted to you for that, for always being there for me.
About defensive coordinator Matt Patricia, what does he say to take you off? How does he motivate you?
I think that Matt is special. In coaching, you have to be able to relate to players, and not only just one guy. I mean, there's a bunch of guys in a room, and you have to relate to each guy differently because of background, upbringing, what motivates you. Like there's different things that get guys going. And
so
some guys are praise.
Mad, sounds like
some guys are praise. Some guys want praise. Some guys, if you judge or question, Matty was more of a like, that wasn't good enough. Even though mentally I'm thinking like, I thought I did a good job. It's not good enough. You got to be better. Like that's not what got you here. You got to play your best football. And sometimes in those moments you get angry and I'll show you, like one of those things. And then you look back on it and you're like, well, that motivated me and that made me play better. And I made a lot of plays because I was motivated to not only be a good football player, but to, make my coaches proud, make my family proud. It's almost like that, your dad, it's almost like that dad thing. Like my dad, I don't want to let my dad down. It's like my coaches, I don't want to let my coaches down because they're putting me on the field to do a job that they trust me with.
But I'm genuinely curious, what would he say? Give me an example of something Patricia would say to you to make you so mad that it motivated you.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff. Like it's more so like in film. Like if we were watching film and I thought I did a good job on something, and he would just say that's not good enough, and I would personally take that like, what do you want me to do it? Like what? I've said to him like, show me how to do it, and he looks at me like, I can't do that. I'm not a football player. I'm a coach. So it's those things that when you're a coach, you can't go and do it, but you want to explain and show someone the right way to do it. And for me, sometimes I was hard-headed and I didn't want to accept it because I thought I was doing it the right way. But in the end, the coaching and all the things that he was trying to help me with put me to a place where I was not only helping the team win, but also, sticking around a great organization. Like there's a lot of guys that they play good football, but if they're not doing exactly what is asked of them, then they're not going to stick around. So for me, I try to do the best I could for my coaches and the New England Patriots because I love playing for the New England Patriots. Loved. It's over. So for me, it's like it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment to try and move past that mentally because as a football player, you've always like taught yourself like it's a new year, it's a new year. But now I was like, okay, it's time. My body's telling me, be smart. Don't be one of those guys that tries to hang on when they look like they shouldn't be out there anymore.
When you just now corrected yourself to past tense, loved being at New England Patriots. I mean, I can almost hear the emotion in your voice again. I want to play another clip for you, and I want to paint this picture. Here you are at your press conference announcing your retirement.
Coach, I gave you everything I had, and I hope it was enough. And I love this game. Thank you. And hopefully my playing career has taught me a lot. And playing for you, I've learned a tremendous amount. And I hope I can take that knowledge that you've given me over the years. And if I'm coaching or in football or doing something, that I could use all that knowledge you gave me and pass it on to the next group of guys. So thank you.
I mean, the emotion in your voice there is obvious.
Yep.
It's undeniable. Here's my question for you. Have you ever seen that kind of emotion from Bill Belichick?
I didn't think he liked me that much. Like Bill's the best coach, hands down, of all time. He's the smartest coach I've ever been around. He knows all phases of the game, and he'll tell us, "I'm not going to compliment you on doing what you're supposed to do." So if I could get that, type of response from him, I was like, wow, like I was proud that I was able to play at a high level for so many years, and he respected that and gave me the credit for, being able to go out there and do it at a high level for a good amount of years back to back to back. So it was hard for me to leave, and all my friends and coaches, and I've built such tremendous relationships with everybody. Have so many close friends on that team, so it was hard. So I was trying to stay together the whole time. I was good, and then when it was to Maddie and Bill, it was just tough because they were the ones that helped me get where I'm at today.
I got to get you out of here because Stephen A. Smith's Bigfoot and me. He's got to get you into his show. But I got to ask you before we go, less than a minute here. What do we have to do to get you on the Derby list? Like, I've seen the pictures. The group is getting we have a couple mutual friends, by the way, Rob, and I've seen the Derby pictures. It's getting big. It's a dozen. And I have heard firsthand that you're a great dude. Why aren't you on the Derby list yet?
I don't know. Well, I think the last couple of years I have babies at home, so I have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. The 1-year-old this year was pretty much the reasoning behind that. I'm not going to say, hey, babe, I'm leaving for 3 days. Where are you going? Oh, the Derby. What are you going to do? Just hang out, hang out with my buddies, place a couple bets.
It's Tom.
Just stand in the chaos of the middle of the field where everyone's getting crazy in there. I've never been, so I don't know.
I haven't either.
I don't know.
So let's get you in on that.
All right, let's go. All
right.
I'm ready. But I need the invite.
Guy,
I'm going to talk to Tom. I'll say, Tom,
let's do that.
Throw me on the jet. I'll serve you some drinks. We'll be all right.
Thanks, Rob.
All right. Thank you.